Thank you, Becca. The resource developed is a pamphlet titled Swallowing Therapy Following a Stroke. This was designed for the multidisciplinary team in the rehabilitation setting, which includes all health professionals who are involved in patient rehabilitation post-stroke, particularly those involved with patients who have been diagnosed with dysphagia. The pamphlet provides an overview of information about swallowing therapy and relates to the evidence-based recommendation described by Becca. This recommendation can be found in the Clinical Practice Guideline titled Stroke Rehabilitation, Long-Term Rehabilitation After Stroke, published in 2013. For further details, the Clinical Practice Guideline can be found at the reference on the PowerPoint slide. The pamphlet created firstly provides a general introduction about swallowing therapy, with reference to the recommendation just mentioned. It then goes on to discuss the swallowing mechanism in order to heighten awareness about its complexity. By highlighting that swallowing is often taken for granted and explaining the process and phases of the swallow, the reader is given a greater understanding. Following this, explanation as to why the recommendation should be followed is provided in dot point form. This reasoning includes things such as a strong evidence base and greater chance of patients returning to their premorbid swallow function within approximately 6 months. Please refer to the pamphlet handed out at the beginning of this presentation for further information about any of the content to be discussed today. The pamphlet then goes on to discuss compensatory, postural and active exercises involved in swallowing therapy. Compensatory strategies involve techniques which aim to maintain the patient's current level of swallowing function, so the techniques are not aiming to improve function and do not actually alter swallow physiology. By using compensatory strategies, the speech pathologist aims to improve patient outcomes in the immediate and short-term future, and to eliminate symptoms of dysphagia, as is alluded to in the pamphlet under the section Compensatory Strategies. Postural techniques are also outlined, as these aim to improve the safety of the swallow. The main postural technique provided in the pamphlet is altering head position. Now, specific postural adjustments are not provided in the pamphlet, as the main aim is to raise awareness that they exist and that they are important. Diet modification is also a compensatory strategy, for example, placing a patient on mildly thickened fluids post-stroke. A section of the pamphlet is also dedicated to explaining each consistency for both food and fluids, and some mealtime strategies are also outlined, for example, ensuring the patient is upright and alert for all oral intake. The final section of the pamphlet refers to rehabilitative swallowing exercises. Now, these differ to compensatory techniques, as they do aim to alter the physiology of the swallow and improve the swallowing mechanism, and they are more long-term. The pamphlet discusses that swallowing is a motor task and it's performed through the combined work of nerves and muscles. So therefore, to improve it, active exercises can be highly useful. Further information is then given with key points including that improvement through active exercise happens over time and through consistent therapy. The next point I would like to cover is why do we need a resource such as this pamphlet? Firstly, the main aim is to increase awareness among health professionals about the importance of swallowing therapy for patients with dysphagia and to give a clearer understanding of the role of the speech pathologist. Increasing understanding of the swallowing mechanism as a complex process is also highly important, as when impaired following a stroke, therapy is very time-consuming and is a necessity. By increasing this awareness, it is hoped that other clinicians will allow more time for speech pathologists to see these patients at least 3 times weekly, and thus improve patient outcomes. So, while this resource is not aimed directly at speech pathologists, by raising awareness, it is hoped that we as speech pathologists can achieve greater progress with our patients. Providing a tangible resource is also useful, as other clinicians are able to refer to it in their own time, and they then have concrete information. So, how does this resource assist new graduates to implement the recommendation? As discussed, other health professionals will become more aware of the evidence-based reasoning behind our practice, As therapy time is the biggest issue with implementing dysphagia rehabilitation at least 3 times weekly, new graduates can distribute the pamphlet, for example at handover, to give backup as to why a patient may be a high priority for them to see at least 3 times that week. I will now hand over to Veronica, who will refer to the Knowledge to Action framework. Thank you.